Hey guys, this is Gaijin Hunter. A weapon has a ton of stats. We've got attack, sharpness, affinity, elements, hidden elements, elder seal, slots, all sorts of stuff, and the game doesn't do a very good job of explaining these mechanics, especially if you're new to the world of Monster Hunter. So in this video we're going to be covering all of them, including some burning questions like which is better, or bone. Now we're going to jump order. Instead of going over sharpness, I want a quick touch on affinity, which is kind of an unusual term. If you think that you might be able to increase this as you use your weapon or something like that, that's not the case. Affinity is just a natural stat that your weapon has, which tells you your percentage chance of landing a critical hit. A critical hit will be 125% of your normal damage output, so 25% increase, and a negative crit, if you have a minus affinity, will only do 75% of your normal damage output. Now you can see why skills like weakness exploit, which increases your affinity when you hit weak spots like maybe the face of a monster, is actually really powerful because you have a much higher chance of doing a hit. For example, I have here the weakness exploit level 2, which is on that very popular eye patch for high rank. If I go and I hit a face of a Teostra, with this weapon I actually have like over a 50% chance of landing a critical hit, which you can see from that nice little purple effect letting me know that I've landed a critical hit. Let's try to land a non-critical here. I keep getting critical. First world problems. There we go. So a non-critical hit is just that normal sort of hit effect where a critical gets that really nice purple slash. Boom. Now the first stat that we want to cover, which is really important, besides of course we know attack power, is sharpness. Sharpness is a lot more than just being able to not bounce off of a monster. The sharper your weapon is, the more damage you're going to do. Now the rule of thumb in all the Monster Hunter games, and this seems like it applies as is in Monster Hunter World as well, is that yellow would be considered 100% damage, or just your regular damage output. Green sharpness will give you a 5% damage increase. Blue will give you a 25% increase, and white will give you a 32% increase. We can go ahead and see this in practice. There's a critical with white, 69, a non-critical, which is 55. Let's go down to blue, 63, and a non-crit, 49, and down to green, 54 for the crit, 43 for the non-crit. Down to yellow, we get 51 for the crit, and we get 42 for non. Now you would think to yourself, wow, that's not a whole lot different from green, so yellow's not so bad, right? And that's where you would be wrong. Yellow has a horrible modifier which greatly decreases the damage that you do at the very beginning of the attack or the very end of the attack. With perfect distance, we do 51 with a critical hit. If we hit it a little too close or early in the animation, only 31. That's a huge decrease. That's the normal non-crit. We get 42 if we hit the sweet spot, only 24 if we don't. So yeah, yellow sharpness you do not want to be hunting with, so if you have yellow on your weapon early in the game, make sure you stop and sharpen your weapon every time it drops and get back to green. There is an armor skill, I believe, on the Diablo set for 2 pieces, which is called Bludgeoner. What that does is remove this special condition for yellow sharpness so that it behaves and does damage output pretty much the same as green sharpness. Still doesn't mean you're not going to be bouncing off everything, so not really sure if it's a viable skill. So now that we understand that sharpness is a very integral part to the amount of damage that you're outputting, one of the most common questions that I see, especially from new players in the game, is what should I focus on? The ore line of weapons or the bone line? These are two things that you can normally make very easily without hunting monsters, and it's kind of a gray line because really early in the game, if you notice, the ore line generally has better sharpness and the bone has higher attack but worse sharpness. Now for really early stuff like rarity 1 or 2, I'd say the ore is better because, man, you go into yellow really fast on the bone for rarity 1 to 2. But let's go and move up forward a little bit more, all the way up to rarity 4. This is where the bone overtakes it. We've got pretty good green here, 345 attack. Let's go up to the ore line. We got 299 in green. There's really no reason to be using the ore at the end of low rank versus the bone, in my opinion, because you're going to get the same sharpness but higher raw output on the bone without having to sharpen all the time. However, this changes dramatically when we get into high rank. You'll notice the first thing you want to do in high rank is to make the ore tree weapon, which gives you your first hint of blue sharpness. Remember, that's a 20% damage increase from green sharpness of the same attack power. So you take 322 with blue, and let's compare it to the bone line at the same point in the game. We get 368 in green, it's definitely going to be better to use the ore line, especially because you start bouncing off monsters in high rank. Blue Sharpness is going to be great. Here's a little bonus because a lot of you are asking. Here are the different items that you need to make the ore and the bone weapons. Should be very straightforward for low rank. Then you get into like Dragonite, Maclite, Monster Board M. The next one might be grayed out. The top one, that is Monster Bone Plus, which you get to get from killing monsters. And the next one will be Carbonite, Dragonite, and Dragon Vein. So you can make this right when you get into high rank. But you will get the Fukium ore up at the top here, which you cannot make until you unlock the Elder Recess, which you can then mine there. And then the final form, of course, is when you unlock Nergigante and the Elder Dragons, you can get the Elder Dragon Blood. Same rules apply for the bone line as well. You're going to see the progression very similar to the ore line. So let's start here. We got the Bone S. These are stuff you could just gather. Ancient Bones are rare gather you can do here. L, M, and Boulder Bones. Then we start getting into stuff that you get from monsters for killing them, which is like Monster Bone Plus. I think that's from Rathian and stuff. Then you get Monster Keybone. And then you got to get into high rank here in order to get the Hard Bone, which you're going to use for the next upgrade. And then Nergigante or the Elder Dragons for the final one, which is the Elder Dragon Bone. So I hope that helps you guys if you're annoyed by those question marks. Okay, the next one is another very common question I'm seeing from new players, which is why is the element on my weapon in parentheses? Why is it grayed out? How do I get that? If you notice here on the Odogaron dual blades, we even have fire hidden. It's 180 value. That's a hidden element. So we don't do any fire damage normally. We actually need an armor skill in order to obtain that extra bonus. Now this is most traditionally found on the high rank Azora Magdaros armor. It's got a skill called Free Element or Ammo Up. Now if you notice, there are 3 tiers, which is kind of cool because if you only have one piece, you still get some of that element, which is kind of nice. It goes from 33 to 66 to 100% of your hidden element. It's going to be really interesting to see if late game we start seeing new meta come out, where we discovered that one weapon, when combined with something like Handicraft and Free Element, maybe that's going to make for a really powerful weapon. There is also a charm you can do, which is the Awakening Charm. You will need a lot of rare materials in order to level this thing up, but it will allow you to free your element all the way up to level 3 without having to depend on armor pieces. And the final one here is Elder Seal. This is something the game doesn't actually bother to explain to you, but if you read the encyclopedia at the sort of research center, they will reveal it to you. But once you get in here, you'll notice the Nergigante weapons all have Elder Seal of High, where something like Valhazak is average, the last boss is low, and stuff like that. So you may be wondering, what is it? Well, this is exclusive to Dragon Element, and it affects the power of the Elder Dragons that you're going to fight in the endgame. So this is really crucial to know if you're going to be fighting Elder Dragons. For example, we know that Teostra has sort of a barrier of fire around him when you fight him, which is very annoying, not only because it makes him more powered up and he does bigger and better blast attacks, but if you're like a bow user, you'll do 0 damage. You won't be able to do anything. You'll have to focus on its head and weak points that are not covered by the fire, and it makes it very annoying. And of course, Elder Seal makes it have a new ability, which is the Supernova. Always fun for doing multiple carts at once. Now, if you hit it enough times with a weapon with Elder Seal, if you notice there, it just flinched and lost its fire barrier. As long as people are using Dragon Elements, it will subdue that fire, which will make it very easy to hit him and hurt him. Let's see, he's in fire again. I'm going to hit him in the face with the Nergigante bow, and we're going to see what it looks like when he flinches out of it. Bam! And here he flinches, and you notice it's now gone. He can't do supernovas, he can't do some of his biggest attacks. This makes him much easier. The exact same rule applies for Kushara Daora. He will have sort of a barrier of wind around him, which will make him move much faster. Makes them very hard to hit, especially if you are a bow user or a gunner. But if you are using Nergigante weapons or things that are high in Elder Seal, it will remove it, which will make the monster move slower, make it much easier to hit, and just really make the fight a lot more enjoyable. The other 2 monsters this affects is Kirin, which is one of the most annoying monsters in the game. It gets this barrier of thunder around its body, which increases the toughness of its hide, which makes it harder to hit. You'll do less damage and other stuff like that. Elder Seal will take that away, making it much softer to hit and easier to deal with. And finally, with Valhazak, which is that zombie kind of monster down in the Vale, it will subdue its ability to use that poison attack of that mist, which will make him obviously much easier to deal with, and even cut down a lot of his moves because he uses that mist in a lot of his attacks. This is a great mechanic. I'm not sure why the game didn't really describe it too much, but if you're going to go farm elder dragons, try to make Nergigante weapons. They're very good for it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video covering the stats that the game doesn't really bother to teach you too much about. Hopefully this will make you a better hunter. If I forgot something, go ahead and put it in the comments down below. Like it if you liked this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, happy hunting.